data structure, and each data structure comes up with certain properties, with certain functions. They are better, might be better or might not be better from the previous one that we had learned, and everyone has their own uniqueness. So when it comes to Numpy, the Numpy has a data structure which is known as the arrays. Okay, thing that we should first talk about, that what it is, how to create a Numpy array, what it is, what are their advantages over the list, tuples, and dictionaries that we had discussed as of now. Okay, so let me just open the Jupyter notebook, and first let's just discuss about the advantages of the Numpy array. Uh, of the Numpy, like why do we need the Numpy array? The first and foremost question that you guys must have in your mind. So the first thing is that they are going to helps us to perform the numerical computation on the data sets. And the another thing, and the which data structure your Numpy library use, the data structure that have been that is a part of the Numpy library is the arrays. Now arrays can be n dimensional, so we will learn about that, what do we mean by n dimensional, and what is the another use of array. Of course, they have various advantages over lists and other data structure, and apart from it, they also helps us to store the encoded data. Okay, so let's just try to understand this with an example. That let's suppose you have a images data set. Okay, so if I ask you a question that how does a computer reads a image, so what would you answer for this? How does a computer reads an image? Let's suppose that you are passing any kind of image to your system. So how does the computer reads an image? Any answers? In the format it is being stored. Yes, very good, Gautam. 0 and 1, always pixels. Computers are not good in reading pictures. Computers can read the data well, because everything, of course, they'll convert into the binary. But when it comes to the images data, computers always reads the data in the pixel format. Okay. So whenever we have to store a data, and for when it is a black and white image, so they are 0 and 1, and when it is a color image, so they follow a RGB or BGR kind of pattern, where there are numbers from 0 to 256, which represents the colors. So usually the images have been stored in the format of your pixel wise, and whenever we are dealing with the images data, we always store our data in arrays, because if suppose it's a black and white image, so then it would be of single dimensional only. But if it is a colored image, so then it will be your multi-dimensional image, where it is following the RGB pattern. Like, I hope I don't know either you guys have heard about it or not, but yes, that is the case. So let me just open up my paint window and show you. I always try to use the paint window in the session, so that which helps candidates to understand the thing. So let me just open it, and then so here I was taking oops session. Yes. So I hope you all can see my screen, right? So images that have been stored are usually stored in the format like this, where you have some kind of box, let's say any colored image, sorry, any black and white image that has been stored in such a way, and where there are some numbers like 0 and 1. So this is the way how the computers reads an image. Wherever there is 1, there is a white. Wherever there is 0, there is black. So this is how the computers reads an image. And now let's suppose that you are passing the images data to a model. So which particular data container you are going to use to store images? That is your numpy array. So any kind of encoded data, okay, encoded means the data that has been encoded by the system. Specifically, what type of data we encode? Images data and the text data also, of course. Like when you learn in the future about the NLP, natural language processing, so there you will learn about bag of words model and multiple things, that how the data is been, how the text data has been encoded. Because again, computer also can't understand the English, right? It's always been converted into bits, 0 and 1 format, and then computer understand it. So whenever the data is been encoded, that type of data is always been stored in numpy array before passing it into any of your machine learning model. They have been stored in numpy array before passing it any of your ML algorithm. So that is one of the most important use of the numpy arrays. So let's just learn about them, that what are they, how they have been created, and what are their benefits, how they are advantageous over list, tuples and dictionaries, and the data that we have learned as of now, and the data containers that we learned as of now. ML is machine learning algorithms, okay, or deep learning algorithm also. So any kind of the technology that you are using to make the predictive modeling. Okay, so once you reach the stage where you are learning ML and DL, you will better understand it. But as of now, I want to give you the idea of the usage of the NumPy array, and this is one of the most important usage. So the first thing is that they have been used to apply the mathematical computation on the data set, and the second thing is that they have been used for the to store the encoded data. Which data has been encoded? Images and text in the form of numpy array before passing it into your machine learning algorithm. Does these 2 points make sense? Okay, very good. Now let's just proceed with the now you know about the numpy, stood for numerical computation and all. Now let's just talk about the numpy array. Okay, and before actually going with the numpy array, let's just talk about arrays. That what are array? So see, arrays are just the homogeneous collection of data. Their second point is that they can be n-dimensional. Now, what do I mean by, okay, so if I ask you, lists are homogeneous collection of items or heterogeneous collection of items? Yes, lists are homogeneous or heterogeneous? Heterogeneous, yes, very good. Because we can have any type of data, right? Your string, float, Boolean, integer, any kind of data, but arrays are the homogeneous collection of data, and lists and tuples and dictionaries and sets, whatever, all the data structures that we have discussed as of now, all are one dimensional, but your arrays are n-dimensional. And what do I mean by dimension? That is also a good question, that what do we mean by dimension, right? So see, one dimensional, you can just simply think of a simple line. That is your single dimension, at a one dimension data. When I say two dimension, you can always think about the two axes, that is x axis and y axis. And the another real time shape that we have in two dimension is the square or the cube. These are my two dimensional shape. Like I am having x axis and the y axis for the data. If I say three dimension, so then we can have the three axes. We can have x, y, and z. That is length, breadth, and height. Okay, and the shape that we can think of is your cube or the cuboid. This is something considered as my three-dimensional data. So when I say two-dimensional array, the data is been arranged like see, one-dimensional array is simple this. This is my single dimensional array. Two dimensional array where I am having a two dimension, first dimension, and behind the scenes I am going to have the second dimension as well. When I say three dimensional array, the array like which the first look is like this, then I'm having a second dimension, and then I'm having the third dimension as well. So this is my three dimensional array, and it keeps on moving. You can have n dimensional. We cannot draw anything like above three dimensional on the paper, but yes, we can imagine it in our mind. So you can think of like a point that let's say there is a point that exists in a universe, and then this point can have n number of dimensions. So that is what the dimension means. Okay, so does this make sense about the dimensions? One dimension, two dimension, three dimension, and up till n dimension. So arrays can store data in the multiple dimensions. Okay, now let's see that how we are going to create an array. That's the next thing. So of course, see, whenever we are using any kind of library, the first thing that we need to do is to import the library. Okay, and how to import numpy? I can simply write down import numpy as np. Np is considered as my shorthand or my alias. Okay, so all the functions that exist in numpy I'll call by using np dot. And if you want to read about numpy, you can also write down help np as well. So then there would be certain information. Maybe I don't have, because it usually says to me that time limit has been extended. I don't know why this happens, but yes, you guys can try this out and let me know that either this the line number 1 and the line number 2 is working in your laptop or not. Okay, so you are having the output of help np, and I hope it is giving you some kind of information about the numpy library. Okay, and if you want to look at the documentation, of any of the libraries, so then you can go to the help, and here you have numpy reference. So just click on it, and then you will have the entire documentation of the numpy library, like the n-dimensional array, about the scalars, about the data types available, indexing routines, masked arrays, how to deal with the date times and everything. Of course, there is no need to go for everything as of now, but yes, this can be considered as the the source of the self studying about most of the libraries. So we can have the access, like you can have about read about numpy, matplotlib, uh, pandas, scipy. You can have it. Okay, so just go to the help and click on it. Yeah, so I was saying that if you want to read about the documentation, so you can have your documentation link by clicking on the help section, on the help button over here. You can click on the numpy reference. So when you click on the numpy reference, you will directly refer to the numpy documentation, the actual documentation with the creators of the numpy, where you can read about almost everything that is present, constructing arrays, in the indexing arrays, methods, attributes, arithmetic matrix multiplication, all the inbuilt functions present. And as I told you that it's more like numerical computation, so the addition, subtraction, multiplication, how to use all these functions, about the multiple kind of operators, some special methods, some of your universal functions exist, like that one, square root, log, all that can be, all the inbuilt functions are available here. Okay, fine. I hope this makes sense. So shall I proceed now? Import, yeah. So see, that is like whenever you have to use any kind of library, the first thing that we need to do is to import it. Okay, because by importing it, you can access all of its functions. So have you guys learnt about the modules and the packages in your Python course? Like what are modules, what are packages, how to create? So right, so modules are like collection of functions, packages are the collection of modules, and libraries are the collection of the packages. So if you haven't, then also it's fine, we are not going to use them, but then of course you can understand the meaning of import very well. Import means like you are creating any kind of Jupyter file or a set of functions at one place, and then later you can use those functions anytime you want, just by importing that module. So for that purpose, usually we use import. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Yes, this is important. Numpy is important. Similarly, your pandas is very much important. This all stuff is, I mean, these libraries, of course, plays an important role while learning. Okay. Cool. So now we know about the import and how, how to import numpy and everything. The next thing that we'll see is how to create the numpy array. So see, to create a numpy array, we already have a inbuilt function which is known as np.array. Okay, but before actually going to numpy array, here I want to ask one question from you. You all have learned lists, right? You all have an idea about lists. Let's suppose that if I have a list here as distance, okay, and have the values like this, right? And then I have a time. So time is, let's say, 5, 4, 3, and 2. And now I want to calculate speed. So if I write down speed is equals to distance divided by time, what output should I expect? This you have to answer it without actually executing it. Okay, 100. Are you sure? Paulson and Navneet? Anusha also saying 100, 100, 100, 100. Okay, Anusha. Anyone else? What's the unit for error? Okay, Kiran is saying error. Pradeep saying 100. There is no such unit or anything, Raj. Mohammed Hussain said error. Anyone else? They're just some numbers, integers, you can say, without any units. Okay, so the answer would be that there would be an error. Why there would be an error? because what we are expecting here, see, we want that 500 should get divisible by 5, right? We want 400 to get divided by 4. Similarly, 300 by 3 and 200 by 2. But lists doesn't support it. Lists never support index wise operation, although you can do it by using a for loop, right? You need to write a for loop and just enter for d in distance, for t in time, and then you can create another variable s is equals to d by t. That can be done, but of course you cannot perform any kind of index wise operations directly on lists, tuples, sets, or dictionaries. Does this make sense, that why I am having this type error? And what does it says? That operand, unsupported operand type divisible list and list, because they both are list, so you cannot divide the elements of a list index wise. Okay, but this problem can be resolved in numpy array. So now let's see that how we are going to create a numpy array. So to create a numpy array, the first thing that I need to use is np dot array. Okay, and now in np dot array I can pass anything. I can pass a list, I can pass a tuple, I can pass a set as well. So if you read about it, its documentation, the first parameter for this is object. Okay, so and Python is an object-oriented programming. So list, tuples, dictionaries, sets, even in single integer, they all are considered as an object. So let's suppose here if I pass as distance as my list, and let's just rename it as dist. Okay, I execute it. I call my type of dist. So what output should I have? That it's my numpy dot nd array. That now what is this? It is an numpy array. Similarly, I'll go with time. Let's say here I'm creating t is equals to np dot array, and here I pass it as time. Now if I write down s is equals to dist divided by t, so then I call s. So here you will see an output as 100, 100, 100, 100 point, because by default the data type of the numpy array is always float. Okay, although you can change it to np dot integer, np dot float, np dot u32 sometimes for the objects, but by default the data type is always float. So understood how to create an array? Simply by using np dot array function, I can pass any kind of Python object over there, either list, either tuple, either dictionary, or anything. And after that, I can apply the index wise operations on array as well. So this is one of the very important advantages of array over list, over tuple, or over any another single dimensional data structure. Any question on this? Okay, so now let's suppose while creating the data only, you can pass this, because if you read about now, so here it is, it's d type. You can have any, you can pass the multiple type of data. So let's suppose here if I want to now, here I'm creating a array arr, and I write down np dot array, and then here I pass 1, 2.5. Okay, before going to that question, let's suppose I'm having 1, 2 and 3, all integers, right? I check the I call arr, so you will see that values are 1, 2, 3 only. It means it's the integer, they are the integer data type, right? And if you check the data type, so how to check the data type? By using d type. So if I use d type, so it says int 64. The default data type is like whatever type of data you passed. Okay, but let's suppose here if I'm having array 1 is equals to np dot array, and now I pass a list with 1 comma 2.5 and 6. Now what will happen? The data type will become float. Okay, so it's like it follows a hierarchy. Let me show you the another one as well. Let's say array 2 dot np dot array, and this time along with integer and float, let's say I'm having a string as well. Okay, and then I check its data type, so you'll see that it's become the object data type, u32 data type, which represents a string. So if all the values are integers, it would be integer. If any one is float, all others are integer, the data type will always be float. If there are integers, there are floats, there are strings, so default data type would always be the object data type or the float data type. So it follows a hierarchy for string, float, and integer. And yes, np.array is fixed. Whenever you need to create an array, you need to use np.array. Okay, Gautam, when I type np.array, it is showing error. What error, Abhishek? Abhish. Okay, I think that's the correct pronunciation. Please share your error. So, any questions as of now? Understood how to create an array? And like its type conversion I'll tell you, but how does the data type of the objects of the elements of the array is been created. So are you writing the line import np, import numpy as np? The first line you have to execute is import numpy as np, then only what is your error? Surakshit, please share your error, and please have a look at the Jupyter notebook that it should follow the same uh, set of code. U32 is object data type, Gautam. Yes, you are not. Yeah, let me. You are the first thing that you need to execute is this statement. Surakshit as well. Then I think that is the error. It means like when you are executing this line, there is no error. So it means like you have imported the numpy. Help NP would be just to know about the numpy library. Okay, unsupported operand type. Yes, you can have the unsupported operand type. So here I was like telling you about the distance, time, and like the something that lists cannot do, but we can do with the numpy arrays. So in the line number 5, I'm creating the first numpy array, and distance is the list that I had already created. Okay, so all good, like understood how to create a numpy array, and what kind of let me share this file, okay, then execute everything. I think, although I will share at the end of the session as well, but let me share it at present as well now. So just copy the code from the file and then execute it, because I guess many a times we miss any of the variables, so it will say it does not exist or something. So I hope you all know how to open IPython notebooks. You need to upload it at first. You need to download it, and then you need to upload it at the home page of the Jupyter, and then you can easily access it. Okay, so shall I proceed? All good. Cool. Okay. So now let me just open up the PPT for your Numpy. That what next we have to see. Still not clear with the explained. Okay, so let me just revise everything that we have covered. Okay, so the first thing that we learned about is about Numpy, about the library and where it has been used, right? Then I explained you that in Numpy the most important data structure is the Numpy array, and Numpy array is a homogeneous collection of data, right? It is not heterogeneous. You cannot have multiple types of data in one array. It's a homogeneous collection of data, and it can be n dimensional, so one dimension, two dimension, three dimension, and you can imagine a dimension like a point is there, and then you in a universe, and then you can have n dimensions around it. Okay, then the first and foremost thing, whenever we are using any library, we first need to import it. So here I'm writing the statement import numpy as np. Np is a shorthand, so whatever the functions I have to use, I'll directly call by using np dot. I can give any name, not only the np. You can give ps, anything that you want, ab, anything that you want, but usually it is practiced as np. Okay, after that, homogeneous data is like only single type of data. If one is integer, all are integers. If one is float, all are floats, or all are strings. You cannot have integers, floats. The combination of integers, floats, and strings are not there. That is something heterogeneous. Okay, you cannot download np. Np is not data. Np is the uh, shorthand for your alias. And yes, homo means same, hetero means different. Okay, hetero means combination. Okay, so all good with this line number 17 and line number 2? Fine. Now let's just proceed to the next. So here, after that, I asked one question with you to you guys, that uh, distance and time. So here I have created two lists. I hope you all guys know about the lists, right? Lists is the heterogeneous collection of data. List follow the indexing. Left to right index starts from 0 in Python, and from right to left index starts from -1. So here I have distance and time as a list, and then I tried to perform this operation, that speed is equals to distance divided by time. But I will have an error because list directly cannot perform the index wise operation. What I am expecting here, that 500 should be divisible by 5, 400 should be divisible by 4, but it cannot be done. List directly doesn't perform any kind of index wise operation. Therefore we can do it, but for that we need to write down the for loop. Okay, then we saw how to create a numpy array. So numpy array is been created by using a function, inbuilt function np.array. Np is something, the shorthand of my numpy. Dot array is a function, and the first parameter of the function is the object. Now object can be anything. It can be a list, tuple, dictionary, a simple string. Anything can be an object in Python, because Python is an object oriented programming. So here I am passing my list distance that I have already created, passing it into a variable dist, and when I check the type of dist, it is returning me an array, that your array is been formed, which is named as the dist. And if I call dist over here, it will look like this. So you will see that array. Then I'm going to I try to perform the operation s is equals to distance divided by time. So when I then I'm able to perform this operation. So I'm having the output as 100, 100, 100 and 100. So divisible operation always gives the float output. So 500 divided by 5, 400 divided by 4, 300 divided by 3 and 200 divided by 2. So this is one of the advantage of numpy array over list, that yes, we can we can perform index wise operations on them. Okay, then I told you that arrays are the homogeneous collection, but they are, what do I mean by homogeneous? That all of the data type, that the values that you are passing should be of the similar data type. So here if I'm passing all the integers, they will all stay integers. But if there is any float, so you will see, like if you call your array 1, so all becomes float by default. So that is how arrays maintain their homogeneity. It's like, if by default, if everything integers, everything would stay integer, but if any float comes, all of them will become float. And along with the float, if any of your string comes, so then you will see all of them will become string. So as you can see in array 2, when I'm calling array 2, there is a quotes along 1 also, along 2.5 also, along Python also. So they all are strings now, and U32 is the string or the object data type. So they follow a hierarchy. If single string, all become string. If single float and no string, all become float. And if all are integers, it would be integers only. Okay, so does all these things make sense now? I hope it is pretty simple to understand. 32, it's like, as like the storage memory it is taking. Sometimes we have U32, U64, sometimes 16 as well, the bit or byte size that usually come in the 2 to the power. Okay, so that is what, and of course we do not need to care about it, but yes, that is what the 3264 means. Why does the d type form part of the array? uh, because it is returning you, like, this is, whenever it's the object or the string type, it will give you the output along with it. That is its default behavior, just to show you, because you can see in array 1 you are not having the data type, but in array 2 you have, because they are kind of specific. The type is data type of the elements that are present in your array. Yes, most of the time when there is string, it will get, you will see in your output, and otherwise not. Okay, so we are good with this. How to create a numpy array? We have an idea about it, right? And now the next thing that we need to see, there are four important characteristics of the numpy array that we should know. So let me show you first all that we had discussed. What is numpy array? The array is a data structure which the numpy library revolves around. To be more precise, it's a matrix grid of values which are all of the same data type, right? Homogeneous. It is also called ND array because it is a n-dimensional array. And again, they follow the same indexing concept. I hope you guys have learned about the indexing in Python, that from right to left, Python index starts from 0, and from right to left, Python index starts from the -1. They are indexed using non-negative integers starting from 0. Numpy array acts similar like a Python list, but it is totally different in execution and relatively a lot quicker. Different in execution, of course, they are like one of the example I had already shown you about the index iteration. It allows index wise operation, and then they are n-dimensional. Single ND array can be relatable to list, but of course, there is no such comparison. Lists are different and numpy arrays are very much different. Okay. Then how to create a numpy array? This all is already done. We need to use import numpy as np. Import, this command is used to get access to another module or library to get access to their code. As I told you that there is some Jupyter notebook been created by the numpy developers which is called as numpy, and we need to now call the functions that exist over there. So we need to first import numpy. Np act as a shorthand. Okay, numpy, this is a module which we should get access to do any numpy related operations, of course. Different ways to create a numpy array. You can pass list, tuples, any object. Okay, you can then we'll see like we have the concept of ones, range, zero as well that we'll discuss. Okay, and some random functions as well. So how to create a numpy array? Simply by using np.array, and then you can pass your data over here. To zeros and random, I'll come. Fine. Array initial. Yes. So now what I want to discuss with you is about these four inspection functions which are very important. That let's suppose you have any array with you, so then how you will check its shape, its size, its dimension, and its data type. But before that, actually, let's just talk about the another way of creating the array, which is the zeros concept and the random numbers. Okay, so see, as I told you that you can pass any kind of object, list, tuple, and dictionary. We are good with it. Now, let's say that if I only want to create an array of zeros where there are only zeros present, so I will pass np dot zeros, and then here its first parameter is the shape. Okay, so what does the shape means? Shape means row and the column. So let's say here I write down 2 comma 2 and I execute it, and then I call a. So you will see that 2 rows and 2 columns, and all the values of the array should be 0. Does this make sense?